For those of us who've worked here at ABC News for many years, it was phenomenal to see a name from our past trending on social media over the past 24 hours, Peter Jennings. We just passed the 10th anniversary of his death, and this morning, if you'll indulge me, some personal reflections on how Peter, my former boss and mentor, impacted me and so many of my colleagues.
Now, Peter Jennings.
Good evening, everyone.
He was the anchorman par excellence, a master of the news desk ballet, the telling tilt of the head, the artfully raised eyebrow. On Friday, 10 years after his death, he was trending on Twitter, people posting their memories. That time he anchored for 25 hours at the turn of the millennium.
Happy New Year to you all across the country.
That rare show of emotion on 9/11.
So if you're a parent, you got a kid in some other part of the country, call them up.
Along the way, Peter mentored so many of the faces you still see here on ABC News.
ABC's Dan Harris has been here for the last 6 weeks.
This is me with him in Iraq before the invasion. Roughly 2 years later, he would go on the air to announce that he had lung cancer.
Yes, I was a smoker until about 20 years ago.
He never came back. On the day after he died, I gave this interview.
When I went into a war zone for the first time, which was Afghanistan, he called my parents to let them know I was okay. And, you know, he's the anchor of a broadcast that 10 million people watch a night. He's got plenty of things to do. And he took time before the show to call my parents and say, your kid's all right.
Someone get my earpiece, please. It's here.
It should be said, Peter could also be quite prickly, but he was a towering figure and one we still miss.
I'm Peter Jennings. Have a good evening. Hope we'll see you again tomorrow. Good night.
So smart, so skeptical, so curious, and really a guy who inspires me every day I come to work here. I will say, though, he was a tough and tricky character at times. I remember he used to write on our scripts. We would hand in our reports, and he would mark them up with a red pen. And there was one time he handed me back a script with no red marks on it, and I saved it. And Ron, you remember it very well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the line you used to hear from him was, I think you want to say.
Yes, that? I think you want to say this, but I think you're going to say it this way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
I know, just in speaking with you, I mean, he has been so influential, and you will tell everybody you know that, I mean, part fear, part fire. He could intimidate you, but he also brought out the best in you.
Yes. Mostly intimidation.
He had the highest journalistic standards, and that influences, I think, all of us to this day.
That is absolutely right. Absolutely right. He held our feet to the fire, and most of the time it was to make sure we were up to his standards, which were extremely high.
Yeah, he is and always will be a legend. And by the way, you look 12 in that video, I have to say.
By the way, he was 12.
You were 12. Well, we started him young here at ABC.